introduce ourselves. Maybe more will be on.
We are live.
We are live. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Jim Dill, Chair of IFW Committee. I want to welcome everybody here this morning to our committee meeting, and we have 4 work sessions scheduled for today, and then a couple of language reviews after that. And what we'll do is first we'll go ahead and introduce the committee, and I'll start with Representative Danny Martin.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Danny Martin, House 150, located in northern Aroostook County.
Representative Alley.
Good morning, Senator Dill. And I am on board. I'm from District 138, Jonesport, Beals, Addison, Cherryfield, Columbia Falls, Centerville, Harrington, Jonesboro, Jonesport, Milford, Marshfield, Millbridge, Whitneyville, and the township of Centerville. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Mason.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Dill. I'm Rick Mason, District 56 for the great people of Lisbon.
Thank you. And before I continue, Linda, would you make sure you make me a host when you get a chance?
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Terrio.
Thank you, Senator Dill. Good morning. My name's Tim Terrio. I represent District 79, which is Albion, most of Benton, China, and Unity Plantation.
Representative Landry.
Good morning, Scott Landry. I live in Farmington and represent District 113, the towns of Farmington and New Sharon.
And Representative Ordway.
Good morning, Senator. Lester Ordway. I represent the great people of the town of Standish.
Thank you. Good morning, Representative Hepler.
Morning, I'm Allison Hepler. I live in the lovely town of Woolwich, and I represent the towns of not only Woolwich, but Aroustic, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Dresden, and part of Richmond.
Good morning, Representative Netto.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Dill. Kathy Netto here. I represent Winslow and a small portion of Benton. Thank you.
On to good morning to Representative Lightfoot. Representative Lightfoot looks like it's possibly frozen. I will move on to Senator Curry. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning. I'm Senator Chip Curry. I represent Senate District 11, which includes all of Waldo County.
And I will come back to Representative Lightfoot if he thaws out this morning. Even it's supposed to get warm today, so. This is a work session that we have going today. As I said, I think we have 4 of them scheduled. And remember that keep yourself muted until you're ready to speak. Only committee members will be speaking unless we ask for someone else to come up and answer some questions for us. And at that point in time, the person can be questioned, and again, only by committee members. This is live stream, so remember if you don't have your mic muted, you are hot and people can hear what you have to say. The chat box should be only for a couple technical things, like if you're putting a website, or if Representative Martin's putting his telephone number there or something, where only the folks here on the screen can see it. So if you have anything substantial to say, please say it so that we all are apprised of what we're going to do. If we take committee votes today, we will do them by roll call, and the chair will announce the vote after the end of the roll call. And with that, I would introduce the clerk, Linda LaCroix, and Linda will be the one running a whole operation here and keeping us going. And we have Rachel Olson and John Clark here for our analysts. And they keep the notes, and today where it's work session, they will be presenting a summary of our public hearings for us to have the information so that we can go ahead and vote. And with that, I will go ahead and open the work session on LD 309, an act to require a non-resident to hire a licensed Maine guide to hunt big game.
Okay,
So,
good morning.
Good morning.
Unofficial ceremonies.
So this is the bill that prohibits a non-resident from hunting moose, deer, or bear without being accompanied by a licensed Maine guide. And it provides a limited exception if the non-resident is from a US state or a province of Canada, and Maine has a reciprocity agreement with that state or province, and the reciprocity agreement allows Maine citizens to hunt without a guide, moose, deer, or bear. You have not got a fiscal note yet on this, but the department had indicated that there would be a fiscal impact, and part of that would be relating to administering these reciprocity agreements with the various states and provinces. You had also asked the department for information on big game hunting licenses for people from Canada, and they have provided you some numbers. 201, this was from the 2019 season, since there were no Canadians who came during the pandemic. But during 2019, 201 from Quebec, 96 from New Brunswick, 48 from Nova Scotia, 15 from Ontario, 2 from Prince Edward Island, 1 from British Columbia, and 1 from the Yukon Territory. There are some drafting issues associated with the bill. If you were to go forward with it, I can talk about those now or later. And just a little background information, I think you heard about this during the public hearing. There was legislation enacted in 2007, which had prohibited all aliens, that is persons who are not citizens of the United States, from hunting bear, moose, or deer without a guide. That law was repealed in 2009 and replaced with a law that required a Canadian from New Brunswick or Quebec to have a license to hunt big game or wild turkey. There were exceptions for persons who owned land in the state and met other requirements. That law was repealed in 2011. So that was the background on previous similar legislation.
Are there any questions for Mr. Clark? Seeing none. Could Commissioner Camuso unmute her mic and introduce herself, please?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Judy Camuso, Commissioner of Maine Fish and Wildlife. Happy to be here with you all today.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Did you have a question for me?
I kind of do, and I guess it almost sounds like we're coming back in a cycle here, since some of this already was in place before and has since been repealed. And I was wondering if you knew any of the history of the reasons why they were repealed. I mean, it seems like such a good idea, and then trying to do something similar again, but we've already had it repealed. So I don't know if you.
Yep. So I think a couple of things, Senator. I can ask Tim Peabody he's in the waiting room. He might know a little bit more about the history of why it was repealed. I do know the last time, so I anticipate the fiscal note will be both sort of administrative costs, but also we did see a reduction in people from Canada in particular coming. So there would be a fiscal note and a loss of revenue as well. And I think, part of our concern is primarily dealing with the other states and having to establish those reciprocity agreements and, sort of keeping track of what all the other states are doing and requiring, and whether we need an agreement with that or not. So I see Deputy Commissioner Peabody is here. Tim, do you know more about the history of why it was sort of enacted and then repealed?
Yeah,
It was actually.
Tim, would you introduce yourself, please?
Excuse me. I'm Tim Peabody, Deputy Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. The final time was for a fiscal issue. It was enacted, then it was amended, I believe Mr. Clark said, and the final time when it was repealed was for fiscal loan.
Okay, great, thank you. Representative Lightfoot. Looks like Representative Lightfoot is frozen again. Must be having some issues this morning. Are there other questions? Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The initial bill was enacted into law, Deputy Commissioner Peabody, in 2007, I believe. And in 2009, the law, the old law was amended to require just Canadian citizens. Is that not correct?
That's correct, Representative Martin.
And then the whole thing was further repealed in 2011. And you claim that that was based on financial considerations and loss of revenues. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it was about $38,000 fiscal note at that time.
Thank you.
Representative Lightfoot, are you available again?
Well, Senator Dill, I'm in and out of this thing. It's terrible today up here. I don't know what's causing it. I'm in for about 10 seconds and then gone. So I just wanted you to know that I have no questions. So.
Okay, thank you. Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a question that that seems to have come up during the public hearing. What states require a guide for a specific hunt? I don't know if that's a question for the department or.
Yeah, I guess that would be a department question if they have that answer. I'm not sure they do, but.
I think we can, hopefully Director Webb was able to get into the meeting today, but there are a number of states that do require guides for a particular hunt. So some states require it just for elk or, bear, but I don't know if Nate is able to join us. I think Nate has a better idea of how many states have some kind of requirement for non-residents to hire guides. It's not quite as clear as you might think.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? John Martin.
Yeah, just a comment. Going back to the original intent of why it became law, and it really was the result of a problem on the border. And if you go hunting along the border, very often what you see are a number of people who come across from Quebec, and then they block the roads. And so you can't go down the road, and there they are. I've had a couple run-ins with a couple of them. My advantage, of course, I could speak French with them and told them where they should be going. And so that's how it ended up being one of the reasons why I got to get in. The repeal occurred primarily because Governor Page basically was concerned that it was an affront to the Canadians if we had that.
Okay, thank you. Representative Ordway.
I don't really, thank you, Senator. I really don't have a question. I have a comment. And I am not opposed to this bill. I would suggest that we take out states in it and just leave Canada in it the way it was. Turnabout is fair play. If an American citizen has to hire a guide in Canada, I have no qualms about having a Canadian citizen with purpose. Whatever. But have no qualms about having them hire a guide. If I look at the numbers, I think it's only in New Brunswick that that would be effective, and Turnabout's Fair Play, only 96 licenses in 2019, I see. My 2 cents.
I would tend to agree with that.
And would you, Representative Ordway, though, make the exception if they owned land here that they wouldn't have to? I think that was one of the laws we had once before. Or would you just say blanket?
If I would say that if they owned land here and paid taxes, I would make an exception.
Okay, thank you. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I tend to agree with Representative Ordway. You know, if we were to go back, if we move forward with this piece of legislation, LD 309, and go back and amend it to what the law was in 2009, that would decrease the financial impact of the department considerably, would it not, Commissioner?
Thank you, Representative Martin. I think it would. I think we would want to look at some of the numbers, but I don't know off the top of my head. Certainly, it would be less impactful if it was just Canada than for the states as well. So for sure, it would help.
Yeah.
I would, if I might just suggest, if you're going to consider this, I would just ask, Colonel Scott had some questions on the language around hire a guide versus hunting in the presence of. So I think there was some, if we could bring Colonel Scott in, he had some recommended changes so that we clarified what exactly was going to be required of the hunter, whether they just hired a guide but had to be in the presence of or hunting with. So there was some, I think, clarifications that might be helpful.
Sure, we'll come back to him in a second. Senator Curry.
Yes, thank you, Chair, Mr. Chair. My question is to our analyst or the commissioner. I seem to recall that in testimony, it was believed that there is no other state that had a hunt, because we're talking about comparisons, has the same hunt. You know, they've got a grizzly bear hunt, but we don't have that, so it wouldn't apply. Is that your understanding of it as well, that we would have no issue with any, under current law, based on every other state's laws, that there's no resident of another state that would be required of this?
Who cares the answer?
Senator Curry, I think my understanding is if there's a state that has a moose hunt where the non-residents are required to hire a guide to hunt moose, then we would also have that requirement for residents of that state. Our challenge would be, of course, keeping track of all of those requirements, species by species in the various states. And some states may, I don't know, I think Director Webb is in the waiting room now, and he can probably answer this question. There may be some states that just have a blanket requirement for all non-residents. Of that, I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just was looking at my notes from the public hearing, and Don Kleiner seemed to be opposed to this. Actually, what he said was they'd made real good efforts to increase the experiences of non-residents and didn't want to jeopardize that. I just want to throw that out there.
All right, thank you. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think what Representative Ordway and I were suggesting, that if in fact we move forward with this piece of legislation, it would omit the states and just deal with the Canadian provinces. So for Senator Curry, your question would be moot because the states would not be involved. And that's the direction that I could support.
Okay. Representative Ordway.
That would definitely be my intent, to remove the states. Again, my friend at the ex-chief executive didn't want to affront the Canadians. I don't care.
Okay, before we move on, I will call on Colonel Scott to introduce himself.
Good morning, Dan Scott, Colonel with the Warden Service. Our only notation really is when this passed back in, I believe it was 2007 or 9, it spoke to the hiring of a guide. And it really didn't give any parameters as to what that meant. And we did experience some non-resident alien or non-resident, non-citizen hunters, basically paying someone to serve as their guide, even though they weren't really in the presence of or accompanied by. This current language does speak to being accompanied by the guide. And I would just offer that we may want to define that similar to, say, with a subpermittee and a permittee, that it can't require any enhancement of audio devices or binoculars or CB radios, so that people understand that accompanied by the guide means that the guide must be present on the hunt, so we don't run into situations like Representative Martin described with blocking of roads, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the Colonel? Representative Hepler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Colonel Scott, has this been I guess I'm wondering about the origins of this coming back. Has this been a problem in your experience on the border?
Has which been a problem?
Well, Canadians coming in and doing what Representative Martin was talking about, blocking roads. I mean, more recently.
During, if we're speaking directly towards moose hunting seasons, mostly, we have issues with both residents and non-residents typically blocking roads, and we try to do outreach and work with the North Maine Woods to alleviate some of those situations, because it is against the law. However, Representative Martin does have an extensive amount of experience up there right along the border, and I'm sure that if he indicates that is activities occurring there from Canadians, it likely is.
Are there any other questions for the Colonel? Seeing none, it's Representative Martin.
Yeah, thank you. Not a question, Mr. Chair, for the Colonel. However, if there's interest in moving forward in some form or fashion, it would be great if John, our analyst, could dig up the statute that occurred in 2009 and just kind of digest that and see where that is, and see if that would be something that we could move forward with.
And just on that note, thank you, Representative Martin. I was just going to suggest I actually have it, and I can put it up on the screen if you'd like to look at it here and give you the basic sense of it.
Sure.
Okay. Can I share, Linda?
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay.
Do you see a green screen share button?
Perhaps at the bottom. There you go.
All right. Do you see that now?
Yep.
Okay, so that was the law that was enacted back in 2009. It related to big game, bear, moose, and deer. And it prohibited an alien from either New Brunswick or Quebec from hunting big game or wild turkey without being accompanied by a person who holds a valid guide license. The exceptions were owning land in the state or leasing land in the state, current on property taxes, keeps the property owned or leased in the state open for hunting by the public, and while hunting possesses written authorization from the commissioner to hunt without a guide. So this, and then there was a penalty provision. So that was what was in place back in 2009.
Thank you for sharing that. Representative Martin, do you have any questions now that you see this?
No. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was on board with the department when in 2009 when this was done, and that was as a result of a compromise that was reached. And I'm not sure where the department stood at the time, but I remember discussing this and working with Deputy Commissioner Peabody at the time. But that's something that I could clearly support.
I guess my only question is, why would we limit it to New Brunswick or Quebec? I realize that's where most of them come from, but still, that seems like we're really, being very selective. Why wouldn't it be any Canadian province?
Well, this is John Martin. That's where the problem exists. It doesn't exist with the other provinces at all.
Yeah, and I understand that, Representative Martin, but I'm just, and I assume that it's probably a problem with them because of their proximity of, going back and forth across the border. But all I'm saying is, if we do this, why wouldn't it be all Canadian provinces? I hear you saying there's probably only one or two or maybe a half a dozen licenses from other Canadian provinces, and the problem is because of the proximity. But I guess I just have a problem kind of singling out two provinces. That would be like saying here in the US, well, we got problems with people from Massachusetts and New York, so they would need a guide and the rest of the states don't.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair, respond to your question. Frankly, if we were to include the states, the financial impact of the department would be much greater. And I quite frankly, I haven't polled the committee, but I'm not sure there'd be support if we were to. I think we could garnish some support on this piece of legislation that was enacted in 2009, but clearly I think we'd have a much divided report if we included the states and others.
Right. I wasn't suggesting at all that we include the states.
Right.
My only question is singling out two provinces in Canada for it, and I was just trying to make an analogy that, would we do that if we were including states, that we would just pick out two states of the 50 and say those are ones because they're fairly close by and we get people from them, they're the problems. So they would have to have a guide, but no other state would. That's my only question.
Right.
I guess maybe I'm questioning the legality of it. I realize we can make a law to do anything we want. But anyway, Representative Terrio.
Thank you, Senator. I'm curious of why don't we just say any foreigner? I mean, that covers all of Canada and it covers any foreign country, because I wouldn't think we'd want any foreign country to come in here and be able to hunt either without a guide.
Sure. Would that be foreigner or non-citizen, I guess?
Non-citizen, there you go. Non-citizen.
Okay. Non-US.
Non-US citizen.
Okay. Representative Ordway.
Yeah, to your point, Senator Dill, I have no problem with it being all of Canada.
Okay, thank you, sir.
None.
Senator Curry.
Thank you. It seems to me that the central point of this question is to have fair play with the provinces or foreign countries that require the same of our residents. And so I'd like that to be in the language that rather than identifying them specifically, we're saying, if you're going to treat our hunters this way in your territory, we will treat your hunters this way here. I like that. Otherwise, it feels, as Senator Dill was saying, targeted in a way that just makes us sound like we're unwelcoming. And really, this is a message of fair play, trying to influence those provinces to treat our hunters better. Correct? I
would think so. And I think that's what Representative Ordway was getting at when he made his motion. I think originally he probably said Canada, but I'm not sure.
I think I'd agree with that.
Okay. Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'm not sure I need to, when we were talking about citizens, if we're going back to Canadians, non-citizen would not include people who are legally here, or would include people who are legally here, have, are working and whatnot. And I'd be uncomfortable using the term non-citizen.
So you're back to Canadian.
I'm
If-
still, maybe, if I can, if I can follow up with Representative John Martin, when you indicated that there was an issue back in 2009, is there still an issue today, I guess is my question.
There will, not at the moment, but there will be this fall once the season starts. And it happens, even though we just don't have enough law enforcement who can spend a lot of time on the border. They got other areas to serve.
All right, so what do we have for suggestions? Representative Martin, Danny Martin, I believe you had made a suggestion earlier about taking it and doing something with language. Was that correct, or do I misremember that?
Well, a good starting point is what we have before the screen, but I certainly would not be opposed to anything that'll work, whether we include the verbiage non-citizen or whether we go with what Representative Ordway is suggesting or Representative John Martin.
I suppose you can do what it says right there. It says prohibits an alien resident of the Canadian provinces may not hunt, if that's, and then leave it basically like that the rest of the way. Representative Ordway.
Yeah, and I would include it with that. I'm going to make a motion of ought to pass with that language of Canadian citizens and must be accompanied with and in the presence of in the wording.
Okay. Is there a second for that? Seconded by Representative Allen. Representative Neto.
I'm sorry, I can't unmute here. Oh, shoot.
You're good.
You're good.
Oh, there we go. Right. Didn't someone say in the meeting that they had someone from France that came over to hunt? I'm just wondering, I mean, if we're going to just target Canadians and not people from France or wherever.
It's probably because, again, of proximity to Canada that they do come here to hunt, whereas I would guess, and I guess we could go back to the commissioner and ask her how many, if she knows off the top of her head or has seen how many other foreign country nationalists may actually have licenses in the state of Maine to hunt big game.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. We do have some every year from European countries that, in particular, that come here and hunt. It is, of course, much more limited, and I think the issue is really not with those, those tourists as a, because they don't have particular vehicles that they're blocking access. So I think the issue, as far as I understand it anyway, is as Representative Martin indicated, and with the the area right along the border is the concern. I think I don't know of any concerns with other foreign nationals participating in our activity. We can certainly get you the list of the countries and the total number of licenses we sell if that is of interest.
Okay, thank you. Representative Neto, did you still have a question?
No, I do not.
Okay. Representative Hepler. You muted it, Representative.
There we go. I'm using too many screens here. So the question that Senator Curry raised was about reciprocity. And so I guess the question is, apparently, according to my notes, New Brunswick requires a guide for everything. Is that the same in other Canadian provinces? And would using language more about reciprocity be more difficult to for the department to maintain than just Canadians? I see you nodding your head.
Who cares to answer the question if anyone can?
Yes, thank you, Representative we really do not want to get into the administrative burden of tracking which state or provinces allow or require what. So a clear, a clear yes or no, by province is much easier for us to administer than having to track the reciprocity and if their rules change over time.
Representative Ordway.
Yeah, I would just state that, thank you, Senator. I don't see other foreign countries as an issue at this time. I don't see somebody coming here from France and not hiring a guide. I think they'd be, the ones would still be looking for them. But no, I limited to Canada. I don't see as far other foreign countries being a problem at all.
Thank you, Chair. I'm a little concerned around, I think what the proposed motion was speaking of citizens of Canada, and I'm looking at the language here that says an alien resident of Canada, and I just don't understand, are we sweeping up too few people when we say citizens of Canada versus an alien resident? I know that was the prior language, an alien resident of a Canadian province. I'm wondering if that might be better.
Representative Ordway.
I have no problem making that into my motion.
Okay, thank you. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. What we have before the screen limits it to the provinces of New Brunswick or Quebec, correct?
The way it is there, but Representative Ordway did say that he was willing to say provinces, Canadian provinces, and take out New Brunswick and Quebec.
All right, so if I may, Mr. Chair, so Representative Ordway, what are we dealing with there? New Brunswick, Quebec, or Canadian provinces?
I said Canadian provinces. I thought that Senator Dill had an issue with it not being all. Okay. I realize that our issues right now are mostly with problems with Quebecois and the way they hunt and block the road, and the reciprocity of New Brunswick. Those are my issues. I have no problem going either way. Yeah, turnabout fair play.
Right.
Representative Danny Martin, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My only point of, if we limit it to New Brunswick and Quebec, the odds are that that would decrease the financial impact considerably and make it more attractive.
Other questions, comments, discussion? Senator Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do the other provinces also have the same requirement?
Commissioner, do you know if citizens of Maine went to hunt in any other Canadian province, would they have to hire a guide for big game?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And if we could have Director Webb brought in, he can answer these questions.
He can answer that, okay.
He's been kicked out. He's been kicked out a few times already, so he's,
he's rowdy, so we have to kick him out,
Actually, I am not seeing him in the
attendees.
No, and I sent him another link.
Kicked out again.
If he needs another link, I can send another link. I'll try doing that.
That would be great. Thank you, Linda.
I do know the people who go to hunt in northern Quebec need to have a guide, required.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Quebec and New Brunswick probably, I think is what somebody said, that you did have to have a guide. But,
Saskatchewan does too.
Yeah, Representative Mason.
Yes, I know for a fact that you don't need a guide in Ontario.
You do not? Okay.
No.
So then it is not all Canadian provinces. All right.
The link has been sent.
Yep.
I'll watch for them.
We'll just watch for him. Yes, Representative Ordway.
Yeah, if there's no objections and we can make this work, I'll gladly amend it to say New Brunswick and Quebec.
Which is the language that's already there. And
which is the language, yes. I'm good. I'm good with that language. That's where our issues are.
Okay. So that's your final answer. Representative.
I certainly hope so.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if we now have a new motion before us, the committee member that seconded it.
Which is Representative Alley. Are you okay with that, Representative Alley?
Am.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can I just make sure I'm clear before the vote?
Yep.
So this includes wild turkey, and I'm assuming that because the original bill was just big game. Do you want to include the wild turkey in that? Was it what was in the law before? And I just want to make sure that the intent is to keep that in.
I would go back to Representative Ordway and see if that's his intent.
I would keep wild turkey in it. Wild turkey is big game to me.
Okay.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Before we do, I will make an exception, and I would ask to let in Don Kleiner as a guide from the main guides, and Nathan Webb is now here. So first off, I'll go with Nathan Webb. Good morning, Nate.
Good morning, Senator Dill. Nate Webb, Wildlife Director. Happy to answer any questions that I can.
I think the big question, but may have been answered, but since you've been in and out, we thought we'd stop making you a yo-yo and ask you a question at least. And that question is, do all or at least most provinces in Canada make you hire a guide if you're from, say, Maine, going to hunt in their province for big game?
I'm sorry, I'm having some technical issues. I believe your question was about the requirements to hire a.
Yeah, in Canadian provinces, in most Canadian provinces, do
guide.
Do you have to hire a guide to hunt there if you're out of state?
It does. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It does vary quite a bit. There are a number of provinces that do require any non-resident alien, so which would include anyone from the U.S. to hire a guide, but that's not universal. It does vary quite a bit from province to province.
Thank you. And we've kind of narrowed the scope of the bill anyway. So, and Don Kleiner, from a guide standpoint, do you see any issues here?
Thank you, Senator Dill. Don Kleiner, Maine Professional Guides Association. My biggest concern, I believe this language will do a company so that there's no slop in the law, like Dan Scott pointed out, that it's clear that they can't just hire a guide who's then sitting back in camp. That guide is actually guiding. And also you've narrowed the scope considerably. So many of my concerns in terms of non-residents from other states disappear.
Okay, thank you.
And I will mention that I, in fact, do frequently guide Europeans. And I would put it this way, those folks are not going to come here to hunt alone. The expense is so high to start with, simply to bring a firearm into this country, that they're on a guided hunt anyway.
Right. Okay, thank you. And I believe Representative Ordway did make it clear that it was accompanied by and in the presence of, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So it was clarified as to what Colonel Scott had said too. So I believe that's in there. Any further discussion before I ask for a roll call? Seeing none. Linda, would you please call the roll?
I will. Starting with Representative Lyford. Representative Lyford?
We'll have to try to come back to him. As he said, he's having difficulty. He's frozen at the moment. So
Yeah, there's some difficulties this morning. Representative Mason. Representative Mason? Has he left us? No, he's here.
he's here, but there he, nope, there he is.
Okay, there we are. And you need to unmute, sir.
There we go. I believe yes.
And I'll
It's
go
not
back.
passed as amended, right?
And I'll go back to Representative Lyford.
Thank you. I'll vote yes. Senator Dill, did you get my message that I'm in and out on this internet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there are issues this morning. Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Senator Curry,
Yes.
Senator Black,
Yes.
Senator Dill,
Yes.
Representative Landry,
Yes.
Representative Terrio,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Representative Ordway,
Yes.
Representative Alley,
Yes.
Representative Nadu,
Yes.
and Representative John Martin.
Yes.
That's unanimous, 13 in favor.
13-0 on Octopass as amended on LD 309, an act requiring non-resident to hire a licensed Maine guide to hunt big game. I will end the work session on LD 309, and I'll open up the work session on LD 349, an act to prohibit the use of personal watercraft on Kai's Pond in the town of Sweden. And I will turn back to John Clark.
So this bill is a bill to add Kai's Pond in the town of Sweden to the list of water bodies in the state in which the operation of personal watercraft is prohibited. You heard during the public hearing some of the history on this. The Great Ponds Task Force back in the 1990s has set up a process whereby municipalities could submit recommendations to the state for the use, operation, and type of watercraft on Great Ponds. And it first gave the municipalities until 1998, and then again, it was extended to 2000, and then finally 2001 for the municipalities to give their recommendations to the department. The department then submitted its recommendations based on those recommendations to the legislature. I believe the last report from that series of processes was in 2002, I think. The first list that was put in statute was in 1999, and then that list was expanded through that next iteration. And then the last expansion through the last iteration of that was in 2001. Subsequent to that process, there were two further ponds that were added by the legislature, both in 2003, Indian Pond and Lake St. George. And since 2003, there have not been, that I could find, any additional ponds added to that list. There are a number of ponds that are also listed through the Land Use Planning Commission rules for the unorganized territories. That's a separate list, separate from the municipal list that's in statute. And as you know, the IFW has current authority to regulate watercraft through rulemaking, although that's somewhat limited. That relates to use and operation of watercraft to ensure safety of persons and property and horsepower limitations. And that's essentially what I have on that one.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for John?
I do have a question.
Yes,
Anyone
John
know the
Martin.
anyone know the history of why the legislature stopped the process of letting people go directly to the department to get this resolved? And then it resulted now in people have to come to the legislature. Before that, it seemed to be the process that worked fairly well.
Commissioner, do you have our Director Peabody, do you have an answer to that?
At the time, there was, John Clark just spoke about the department acted as a pass-through, and if they met all the requirements set forth by the legislature, the Great Ponds Task Force, we did not hold anything back. And then the legislature basically did away with that process and kept the authority.
So then, go ahead, John.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wonder, is there a reason why that happened, or was it just the whim of a legislator?
It's a good question if you're asking Representative Martin.
Seems to me that it would be so much easier if that process were in place and people had an opportunity to get it done that way rather than having come to the legislature. And what do I know about that community and the local area and whatever? I mean, it's not something why, you know, why would I want to be voting on it?
So are you suggesting, Representative Martin, that we change
I am
the flavor of this
suggesting,
bill?
yeah, I would suggest that we get a draft of what the law used to be and see whether we go back to it.
All right. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's interesting to note under the current law that no body of water has been added or increased since the year 2003. Now, the concern that I would have with the bill as it's currently drafted is that the town of Sweden, I believe, the question would be to maybe the sponsor of the bill or the department, has the town approved this? Because under the current law, it seems to me that the town would have to ratify before coming to the legislature. Now, clearly, as is the case with other jurisdictions, watercrafts, for example, or boats, it would be much simpler if the department were given the authority to approve this. That way, through the rulemaking, they could set up a process and ensure that before coming to the department, that the community or the unorganized territory through the county commissioners would have a say in this. Because right now we have no idea, as far as I'm concerned, whether or not the town of Sweden, through their council or through their town meeting, has approved this.
Thank you, Representative Martin. So I think I heard a question from you to Representative Solomon Millet,
Yes.
perhaps. So
Yes.
Representative Millet, if you'd unmute yourself, please. Good morning.
Senator Dill and Representative Landry and members of the committee.
Introduce yourself first, please.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm Representative Solon Millet from House District 71, which includes the town of Sweden. And I'm the sponsor of the bill. And to Representative Danny Martin, I will confess that I did not know the process. Therefore, the town was not in compliance with the law that existed in the late 90s and early 2000s. I was here as you were commissioner then, Danny, in 2003 and remembered vaguely the Lake St. George admission to the list. However, I'll take full responsibility for not having gone through the process that was established back in the 90s. Since the hearing on the 22nd, Andrew Black, who was in the waiting list, and Monica Bigley and another lady from Sweden who have been very involved with the town, immediately went to the select board and said, can we get this question on the annual town meeting? This being late February, it was just a few days too late to get it on the warrant. But we certainly do not intend, nor did we intend, to bypass an established process. It is my understanding that there's been a certain amount of vagueness about the process since 2003. However, we would like to work with you and hope that you would not dismiss the law as ill-timed or out of sync with the process, because we simply were not aware of it. We would like to see you think about, as Representative John Martin mentioned, a simpler process. However, if you stay with the current process, we are more than willing to have the town of Sweden weigh in on approval, either in advance or possibly even retroactively if you were to amend the bill to provide a delayed effective date pending a yes vote and majority by the town. We would love that and would work certainly with the department to make that happen. At the very least, I would hope that if you are going to change the law, you carry the bill forward and allow us to seek that approval if necessary during the second regular session. But we do want to cooperate, and we certainly were not attempting to backdoor you. We simply were unaware of the process.
Thank you. I think Representative Danny Martin's suggestion of perhaps tabling this and getting more information may be the way to go, but Representative Danny
Well,
Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Millet. As you know, the department has the authority through rulemaking and through the APA to move forward on certain issues regarding water issues like watercrafts and boat size, horsepower size, and all that. Wouldn't it be great if we could amend this bill to allow these issues to go through rulemaking and directly to the department? Because like Representative John Martin mentioned, what do we know about a water issue in southern Maine or northern Maine? So I think that would be the right approach to use.
Okay. Representative Ordway.
Yeah, I would basically echo everything that Representative Danny Martin said, and but want to make sure that, people are coming to us and cherry picking ponds and lakefront owners, that if they went through the department, it would have to be through the municipal offices request, and not just individual lakefront owners. As much as we don't like to have to cherry pick these, I'm sure they don't have time to do it.
Right. Tim Peabody, where do you think the department is on this issue at the moment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My memory's starting to come back in line here because I was colonel at the time, and the committee was very concerned about the enforcement process at the time. So the towns had to go through the town meetings, and then they had to demonstrate that they had some enforcement ability to enforce the law on their particular body of water through an inland harbor master. I believe the inland harbor master language was put in law around that time period also. So if the committee moves forward here, that because of the fiscal impact on the department, it'll have to be clear in the process. If it's a rulemaking process, what our ability would be to deal with any increase in enforcement that would be required having a personal watercraft prohibition.
Chairman,
yes,
I
Representative.
wonder if we could have the department take a look at it and see what the language was and whether or not that makes sense and bring it back to us.
Sure. Let me just finish here with the hands that are up. So let me ask Commissioner Camuso if that's a good process to go through, and you echo what Mr. Peabody, Colonel Peabody said, Director Peabody.
Thank you, Senator Dill. And I was actually looking for clarification. Is the committee looking to give the department the authority through rulemaking at the request of a municipality or unorganized commission to ban personal watercraft or any particular kind of watercraft? So we, as you know, have had a number of issues with other sorts of watercraft, and so I'm just looking for clarity as to what you're proposing right now.
I'd go back to
There's a big kettle of worms here that complicated quickly.
Sure. I'd go back to Representative John Martin, who just made that suggestion.
I'm suggesting we take a look at both and then decide, but let's see how the department structure it.
Sure, we got some more hands here. Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I just the conversation sort of moved around since I last put my hand up, but I just want to make sure that towns, of course, do have a say in, and that the impetus would come from the town government.
Great, thank you.
The way the old structure used to work.
Yeah, sounds like it. Senator Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The other thing I would ask if the department could look at if we're going to change this to not have a deadline, that this would just be an ongoing process. We'd also have to look at how often an issue can be returned, in terms of if something is brought forward and fails, can they bring it back the following year, or is there a wait? just to, if it's an ongoing process or if it's a process that is always available.
Mr. Chairman, I would move it be tabled for 2 weeks and let the department come back to us.
Before I ask for a second, I still have two hands up. Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. To the commissioner, the commissioner, you have the authority through rulemaking to limit horsepower size on lakes and ponds, correct? Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. So if in fact we table this bill, you could probably use that format and come back to us, because the rulemaking and the authority given you to limit horsepower size would work quite well with this piece of legislation here regarding watercraft issues.
And finally, Representative Ordway.
Yeah, I got a feeling we're rushing here. I think with this, even 2 weeks, in my opinion, we're putting too much on the department to try to come up with this in 2 weeks. I think we're confusing the issue that we have in front of us. And this needs some work. And I think the department should have some time to work this out. So, and I don't think 2 weeks is enough.
Okay, I just send it to the departments and come back to us when they're ready.
Yeah,
All right, so I'll go back to Representative John Martin, and his motion is to table this bill and ask the department to work on it, correct?
Right, without a time period.
Okay. So is there a second to tabling? Representative Landry. All in favor, just a show of hands. Looks like it's unanimous. Thank you all. Okay, next I will close the work session on LD 349 and open up the work session on LD 356, an act to increase opportunities for seniors and persons with disabilities to participate in moose hunting. And we will go back to John Clark.
So this bill requires a moose permit to be issued on an application and payment of the permit fee, but not through the lottery, to a resident 70 years of age or older, or a person with a disability as defined in the Americans with Disabilities Act. There was a number of pieces here. There was reference to what might be available currently for people who are older. There is a provision in law now for people who are over 65 to get a permit if they've accumulated 30 points under the lottery system. There's also, the department had provided information on the Make-A-Wish program that they have. I think they provided that information to the committee. And also on the disabled veteran hunt. My understanding is, with regard to the Make-A-Wish program, they have a program where they can issue 2 moose permits to a nonprofit organization. And I think there are 2 organizations that the department's now working with where they do that. And there's also this rule, chapter 16, where the department provides a controlled moose hunt, which they call the broccoli hunt. I believe that's relating to the broccoli farming area that takes place in, and up to, I believe, 30 moose permits are issued there to disabled veterans. And there's a controlled hunt there for moose. So those are the current. Oh, actually, there's one other provision, I believe, that allows a moose permit to be transferred to a disabled veteran who is more than 50% service-related disabled. So that's an additional ability for a disabled veteran to get a moose permit. So those are the various pieces which are available currently for older residents, for disabled veterans, and through the Make-A-Wish program that's for children under 21 years of age who have life-threatening or critical or terminal illnesses. That was most of what you did hear, obviously, at the hearing, the concerns about the number of people who are 70 years of age or older, and how that would basically use up the number of moose permits that are currently available. I think that's everything that I had.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for John? Seeing none, I would turn to Bill Swan and ask him to introduce himself, please. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. I'm Bill Swan, Director of Licensing here at Inland Fisheries and Wildlife.
Welcome to you this morning. Kind of a question for you. If we were to pass this bill, do you think this would pretty much take away all moose permits, or a super percentage of them, or where would that sit? You know, with people 70 years and older that now hold a big game license, not to mention the disability aspect.
Right. It would certainly consume all of the permits that we currently give out. And basically, you'd be running a lottery with just those folks in it.
Okay. All right, thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Swan? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone else that anyone needs to hear from? All right, someone want to make a motion? Representative Ordway.
I would make a motion of ought not to pass.
Motion of ought not to pass. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It was seconded by Representative Mason. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Linda, would you please call the roll?
Yes, I'll start with Representative John Martin. Representative John Martin is not there. We'll go back to the other end of the horseshoe then. Representative Lyford. Is Representative Lyford able to?
I don't.
Okay.
I actually don't see him. Yeah, he's on the bottom here. Hold it. He's there now. I think he may. No, he's not frozen. Representative Lyford, can you hear us?
Yes, I can now. Can I say on the last bill, I would like to vote yes?
Yeah.
That would be on the,
Tabling. That was on Kai's Pond.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Sure. No problem. There, it was tabled anyway. And this is an ought not to pass to you.
Friggin' thing.
Ought not to pass. Representative Lyford, can you hear me?
It's frozen again.
I guess he's frozen again.
All right.
Okay.
I'll continue on and we'll come back.
Yes, please.
Representative Mason.
Yes.
Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Representative Curry. I'm sorry, Senator Curry.
Yes.
Senator Black.
Yes.
Senator Dill.
Yes.
Representative Landry.
Yes.
Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Alley.
Yes, but I have a question. That Make-A-Wish and disabled veterans, they're already approved, right?
Yes.
Well, this bill here is one that I put together because I had a bunch of older hunters and people that were disabled that thought they might want to try a lottery. So I guess by the reading that there's probably already a lottery in effect.
There is.
I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Representative Nedu.
Yes.
Representative John Martin.
Yes.
And we'll go back to Representative Lyford. Is he unfrozen?
He was. Representative Lyford, can you hear us now?
Looks like he's frozen again.
It looked like he froze up just as we said that. He was moving and now he's not. All right. Okay. What was the count, Linda?
Well, that makes it without Representative Lyford, 11 in favor of ought not to pass.
Okay, so ought not to pass 11 to 0 to 2. Goes on down as ought not to pass, and I will close the work session on, before I do, ask Representative Ordway if he has a comment on this before I close the work session.
Not on this. I was just going to ask if Representative Lightfoot, how he feels about broadband funding now.
Okay, I will close the work session on LD 356, and I'll open up the work session on LD 361, an act to establish a permanent appointment of a member of the Wabanaki tribes to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Council, and I will go back to John.
So this bill increases the membership of the advisory council. It's currently 10 members, and it adds an 11th member who represents the Wabanaki tribes. The governor would appoint this member, and the appointment would be based on the recommendations of the tribal governments of the Wabanaki tribes, which would include the Micmacs, the Aroostook Band of Maliseet Indians, Passamaquoddy tribe at Indian Township, Passamaquoddy tribe at Pleasant Point, and the Penobscot Nation. The tribes would establish a process that provides for the membership to rotate among the tribal governments. And I would note the current law provides appointed members may only serve 2 consecutive terms, and I believe that provision in current law would apply to this member from the Wabanaki tribes as well. The current membership of the council, the 10 members represent the 16 counties, but it's not one-to-one. Androscoggin, Kennebec, and Saginaw have 1 representative. Franklin and Oxford have 1 representative. Knox, Lincoln, and Waldo have 1 representative, and Piscataquis and Somerset have 1 representative. And the other counties have a representative per county. There are several provisions in current law which are similar to this. The Criminal Justice Academy has a provision for a very similar position representing the tribes. The Commission on Domestic and Sexual Abuse has a provision for tribal representatives set up somewhat differently, but essentially the same idea. And the Permanent Commission on the Status of Racial, Indigenous, and Maine Tribal Populations has a provision for a tribal representative as well. And there are 2, I believe, similar bills that are currently in other committees. One in the Marine Resources Committee, which relates to the Marine Resources Advisory Council. And then there's also one in the Education Committee. It relates to the Board of Trustees for the University of Maine system. The final thing that I would note, I believe the department had indicated support for this, but had indicated a question about whether the tribal governments would be working with in consultation with the commissioner when putting forth recommendations for the member to the governor. And I would let the commissioner fill that out further, but I believe that was a comment or suggestion for perhaps a change there.
Okay, we'll come to the commissioner in a minute. Are there any questions for John? Saying none, I'll come back, Commissioner. Haven't seen you in a long time, so would you comment, please, on what John just mentioned?
Thank you, Senator Dill. And yes, John is correct. And the way the other 11 seats in our advisory council work is that I make recommendations to the governor's office for appointment. And then she and I meet, or meet with a member of her staff, and she will make the final recommendation based on a selection of recommendations. So my request was that this seat work much the same, that I would work with the tribal representations, and together we would put forward 2 or 3 recommendations for the governor to consider.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions for the commissioner? Seeing none, I'd call on Representative Newell to introduce herself and see if there's questions. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rena Newell. I'm the Passamaquoddy Tribal Representative for the Passamaquoddy Tribe. Thanks for having me this morning.
My first question is, do you see any problem with what the commissioner just suggested, working with the tribes to come up with 2 or 3 names to move forward to the governor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question, and to the commissioner as well. I just want to bring to the committee's attention some revised language that came from the Attorney General's office. So we do have a representative from the Attorney General's office, if she could speak to the proposed language.
Sure.
I think language came out just maybe a couple sent to the committee clerks maybe an hour and a half ago, but the language actually came out Friday evening.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll turn over to the Assistant Attorney General, have her introduce herself.
Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative Landry, members of the committee. My name is Kimberly Pat-Warden. I'm an Assistant Attorney General. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this language, if the analyst has been, okay.
I haven't seen it.
So I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads.
Well, the analyst told us it was available, but I don't think anybody's had a chance to look at it.
Okay, so I can do one of two things. I think I'm allowed to, I could share my screen and bring it up with you so you can look it over. Would that be helpful?
I'm not sure you can share your screen, but perhaps either John or Rachel could. Is that correct, John?
I don't think I've got this, so I can't share it. Rachel, do you have it?
I do, John. We got it in an email while we were in committee, but I do have it. Would you like me to pull it up, or John, do you want to do it?
If you could pull it up, that'd be great.
Sure, just one moment. Let me dig it out of the emails. I have to apologize. I just was following along in the email. This is John's bill, so I haven't read this closely, but here it is.
Okay, thank you. We will turn back to Kimberly.
Thank you, Rachel. So you can see here that there's just a couple of changes, and these are the exact same changes that were just recently proposed to the similar bill in the Education Committee, and the Education Committee passed this language as amended just a couple of hours ago. So it changes the language Wabanaki tribes to a federally recognized Indian nation, tribe, or band in Maine. Wabanaki tribes is not defined in Maine law, and our understanding was the purpose was that the member was to be a member of one of the 4 Maine tribes. So this clarifies that only the member on the advisory council has to be a member of these 4 tribes. And then it also amends the language about how the recommendation is made to the governor's office. And that is because it was the view of the office that it unnecessarily intruded on the sovereignty of the Maine tribes because it required a specific process for how the tribes were going to select that individual for the recommendation. And in particular could be viewed as inconsistent with the Maine Implementing Act and the protection for internal tribal matters for the Penobscot Nation and the Passamaquoddy tribe. So this language makes a change to it in that the tribes are to make a recommendation to the governor, and then if there isn't a unanimous recommendation, or if there is no recommendation made at all, then the governor will select a person that rotates amongst those 4 tribes. So it also provides a backstop in the event that there isn't a recommendation at all.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from committee members? Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Kimberly. I'm also a member of DMR committee, and one of the things we talked about was whether the tribes would make more than one recommendation from which the governor could choose? Is that something that we did this a couple of weeks ago? So I'm just wondering what this language would do.
So this bill, if there was more than one recommendation made, then this bill again kind of provides, I would say, a backstop where the governor would likely then choose amongst those two members, or the governor then would switch to trying to appoint a member that rotates amongst the 4 tribes. But so it does provide sort of like some alternate language in the event that there's more than one recommendation made, or there's no recommendation made at all.
So if I can follow up, Senator Dill, so there's no requirement that they produce more than one name?
No.
Okay.
So Commissioner Camuso, is that kind of where you were coming from? I thought you had said 2 or 3 names that you would put forward to the governor, and doing that in collaboration with the tribes.
Yeah, Senator Dill, thank you. That was our request, that we would work with the tribes and bring those names forward jointly to the governor's office. I also have a question that should no nomination be put forward and the governor appoints somebody that would rotate, what is the term for that particular person? There's certainly some advantage to having this seat have the same duration that the other council seats have. And so there are a number of issues that come up, and some history with the council is important. So I would be uncomfortable if that seat were going to change on an annual basis as opposed to every 3 to 6 years.
You'll forgive me. I'm not confident with how long members serve, but I don't think that this amendment changes any of those provisions.
Okay, so it doesn't change.
Thank you.
It doesn't change the length, but it doesn't address yet whether it's just one name going forward or more than one name going forward. And Commissioner, where are you on that? Are you okay with working with the tribal council or whatever it would be called to come up with just one name, or would you prefer more than one name?
Sure, that would be fine. There are certainly times when my recommendation to the governor is just one name, particularly when someone's going to be reappointed. I don't think this addresses. I just would want to ensure that the person nominated has the same seat term, the same term, and is available for the same 2-3-year terms as our current council members are. In general, the way it works now is with the other seats, as commissioner and as all commissioners do, you have a vision and a sort of a plan for the agency and where you want to go. So I interview people and talk about my goals and objectives for the agency and how this seat plays into some of those goals and objectives. So I do like the opportunity to meet with potential council members before they're appointed and make sure that we have a similar vision for how we're going to interact and what sort of things we want to work on. But that was my only request there.
So is a sentence needed in there, Commissioner, that basically says that almost at the end of the yellow paragraph, that the appointee is for up to 2-3-year terms? Is that the way it would be? Would you see it worded that way? 2-3 is consecutive, I assume.
Yes. Yep. And I guess I would just say that the seat is, the terms are the same as every other council seat.
I mean, we can do it either way, but just as long as you.
Yeah, we could just put the language of the advisory council language in there. A council member is eligible to serve up to 2-3-year terms.
Yeah, and that's consecutive terms. They can come back. Is that correct? Or is it only 2-3-year terms, period?
It's 2-3-year terms, and then they have to step down.
Right, but then they could come
I'm
back
sure-
after a fashion and serve 2 more 3-year terms, correct?
Suppose if they're really vulnerable.
Well, I'm just saying. if
I'm not sure that
everybody-
we've ever had it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Representative Danny Martin.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, that's exactly what I was going to suggest. Current statute is 3-year terms, no more than 2 consecutive 3-year terms. But in fact, they can in fact come back after a period.
Okay.
So what I'm suggesting is exactly what the commissioner said, to add that language in there, make it consistent with other advisory council members.
All right. So, John, do you kind of capture that, adding a sentence in there?
Yeah, I believe that language would already apply. I should just pull this up, make sure that we're all looking at the same thing. Can I do this? How do I'm no good at this. Okay, there. Can you see that?
No.
Okay. Well, in subsection 2, it says the appointments are for terms of 3 years until a successor is appointed and qualified. A person may not serve more than 2 consecutive 3-year terms. So I'm assuming that applies across the board to all members and would apply to this member as well. So I think that piece is covered.
So you don't think it needs to be in here?
So I mean, we can certainly add further language to make it clear if there's a concern by the commission that, but I think that language covers all the members.
Okay. What it is, we'll wait to see whoever makes the motion, how they want to go, if they want to add that sentence in or what. Representative Newell, are you okay with what has been suggested to this point and by the AG's office?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I am. We did have the conversation with the Attorney General's office on Thursday in regards to this language on this bill as well as another bill in another committee. So yes, we are fine with this language, and it is my understanding that it didn't change what was being discussed as far as the term of the seats.
Mr. Chairman, I would move on to pass as amended.
Okay. Move on to pass. Representative, okay, it's been seconded by Representative Hepler. Representative Danny Martin.
No, I'm good. I was just going to make the motion. And I think John is correct. I just took a look at the entire statute, and the language is clear. It would be applicable to the other members that we're adding.
Okay, very good. Then we don't need to add that sentence in. So ought to pass as amended. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Linda, would you please call the roll?
Yes, I'll start this time with Representative John Martin.
Yes, but you can't see me for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then we have to wait on him. We'll come back to him.
All
Jump
right.
over to Peter Lyford if he's not frozen before he freezes
I
again.
know.
Yes.
I can vote yes, no problem.
Representative Lyford.
No. No.
Representative Mason.
Yes.
Representative Hepler.
Yes.
Senator Curry.
Yes.
Senator Black.
Yes.
Senator Dill.
Yes.
Representative Landry.
Yes.
Representative Terrio.
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin.
Yes.
Representative Ordway.
Yes.
Representative Ali.
Yes.
Representative Nadeau.
Yes.
And we still can't see Representative John Martin.
Representative Martin, can you try to turn your camera on again? Are you there, Representative Martin?
I am, but it says you can't start your video because the host has stopped it. But I vote yes.
Well, we can't do that yet until we can figure out how to bring you back.
The host has not done anything. I think we're just having some glitches today.
Huh, I don't know what that, what that means.
I don't either.
Can Can we take a second? There we go.
There you are.
We can see you, but we can't hear you.
You can see me now.
I can see you now. See, I guess you
Yeah,
just,
I vote yes.
you vote yes.
Thank you. Then
Don't
that,
go away. Don't go away, John Martin. I think we have to have you vote on another bill here in a second. Linda, what was the tally on this one?
so that makes it 11 in favor and 1 against.
Okay, so it's 11-1. Ought to pass as amended. The bill passes, and that is LD 361, an act to establish permanent appointment of a member of the Wabanaki tribes to the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Advisory Committee. And before we go on, I will close the work session on LD 361. Before we move on to other things, John Martin, we need to have you vote. Is that correct, Linda?
That's correct. On LD 356, which was ought not to pass.
That's the seniors and persons with disabilities getting moose permits without a lottery.
Ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass.
Okay, so that makes it 13 unanimous.
And can I just ask the minority report on 361? I assume that Representative Lightfoot is ought not to pass.
Okay, Senator Dill,
Just a second, Representative Lightfoot. Is it ought not to pass on the minority report?
No, I'd like to change my vote to yes
Oh, okay.
while I'm in here.
that's what I was going to tell you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, so that does make it unanimous then. 13 ought to pass as amended.
All right, great. Representative Newell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you to the committee for your consideration.
You're most welcome, and thank you for presenting the bill and being here this morning.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
You too. All right, now we move on to some language review.
This will be Rachel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to start with LD 142.
Okay.
Which is an act to give the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife rulemaking authority to establish a bear season framework and bag limits. As you may remember, when the fiscal note came back, the committee reconsidered their vote and wanted to move forward with amending LD 142 in order to remove the sections of the bill that related to the decrease in fees for bear hunting and bear trapping permits, and to move that portion related to the decreased fees into LD 10. So I have language to come back to you, but there are also a few things of note that came up when drafting that I'd like to go over. I am going to share the screen so we can all take a look, and I'm going to do my best to make this as clear as possible. So I'm looking at a screen off to the side, so it might look a little funny to look away, but so as you can see here, this is the committee amendment to LD 142. So we're going to tackle these in LD 10 and 142 separately, but together. And I do have my comments off to the side for those that would like to kind of follow along by reading. Section 3 of LD 142 is the issuance of permits, the issuance and permit fees. So when I began to draft the amendment, as I have presented it, I said we should pull section 3 out of LD 142. But as I began to draft it, I realized that this phrase here, when the bag limit on bear is more than one, a bear hunting permit is required for each bear. This is the only place in LD 142 where that's referred to. And therefore, in order to move forward with the intent of LD 142, we would not want to remove that language. In order to keep that portion, rather than striking all of section 3, I would recommend leaving it as written, but remove only the portion that decreased the fee. So kind of returning that to as it's originally or currently written in statute. I will note that in doing that, if we proceed in the way the committee had voted, that this will create a conflict in law. So essentially LD 142 and LD 10 will both be amending the same section of law. This can be resolved in an errors bill next session, but it is of note. And if we look at how this is done in LD 10, just so you can see what that would mean is when addressing the fees in LD 10, we'd leave the rest of the section, or excuse me, subsection, as it's currently written in law, and only change the fees. That this can be resolved in an error bill. It's just of note to mention. And then I also have to admit that I failed to mention section 11 to the committee last time we were together. Section 11 also deals with fees, the trapping permit fee, which also was a reduction. The committee did not vote on this, although I think our conversation around the fee, the intent was also to address it, but I did not bring it up. We only dealt with section 3. So if the committee would also like to adjust the fees for the bear trapping permit, we would also need to amend the bill in section 11. My recommendation, because the only thing being changed in LD 142 to this portion is the fee, that we could just take section 11 out of the bill. And if the committee would like to change the fee, that we would do it in LD 10, where we're already addressing hunting and trapping permit fees. And then of the, as on the last note, I had conversations with the department regarding this as I reached out to them just to make sure that I wasn't missing something here. And in those conversations, the department realized that the information they put forward for the fiscal note didn't take into account the increased number of permits the department may issue as a result of that possible second permit. And so they believe they have revised numbers for a fiscal note based on actually keeping the fee as originally written in LD 142. So I realize that's kind of two big things. I'm happy to answer questions. And I know the department's also available as well. I'm not sure if it's easier if I stop sharing the screen or leave it up.
I think we're okay at the moment. I can still see hands and stuff. So,
okay.
Representative Terrio.
Thank you. Rachel, can't we just remove the annual fee for each permit issue sentence and put that into 10? Hello?
I'm sorry. That was me thinking about it. I know it's quiet. I couldn't hear my arms. I am not sure if that's the sort of the best way to move forward, as this does talk about the fee as well. And I think we would still bring about the conflict by amending it in two different ways, because you do still need to address the permit fee.
Well,
did I not answer your question? Maybe I misunderstood your question.
Well, I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here anyways. I'm just trying to make it so we don't have a conflict in law. And if we take in section 3 and take that sentence out, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just talking to myself. I'm sorry.
I think we'd still end up with the conflict. Although, as I mentioned, the department did pull some new numbers related to the fiscal note that might present a different situation. Other questions?
Representative Danny Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Rachel, do we know what that revised financial impact is?
Yes, we do. I have those numbers, but I'm also, I had extensive conversations with the department, and so I'm happy to share, but I'm also happy to have them speak to that process, which.
No, if you know, no, just answer it if you know the answer.
Sure. So after further review of the fiscal note for LD 142, they realized they hadn't addressed that, the anticipated increase in bear hunting permit sales that would occur because of the availability of the second permit. So, and again, these are all approximations based off of best guesses. But they believe if the resident hunting permit fee was reduced to $10 as proposed in the original bill, that sales would increase by approximately 35% due to a combination of the reduced fee and some hunters purchasing a second permit. So they also anticipate that the non-resident bear hunting permit sales will increase by approximately 20% due to some hunters purchasing a second permit. With a more modest 10% increase in the sale of resident bear trapping permits due to the reduced $10 fee. So they're projecting that increased sales of permits will result in approximately $4,990 in additional revenue to the department, despite the reduction in permit fees for residents. And then they also ran the numbers based off of the amendment, which is in front of you, but both for trapping and hunting. And the $2 increase for non-residents, and that would be a projection of approximately $68,320 in additional revenue.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Yeah, with that in mind, question to anybody who can answer it, John or Rachel. Do we, this was my motion intentionally, and it was done in the absence of the Senate chair. I think you had to leave for a moment, and just amazing what we can do in your absence, Mr. Chair.
I thought of that too, so thanks.
So the question would be, do we have to take another vote on this?
I believe we would, depending on how the committee would like to move forward. Whether to move forward as the committee discussed, but because I did not mention section 11, I'm not sure actually how official that would have to be. I think it was the committee's intent. But if the committee wanted to move forward with the $20 fee and the $2 increase for non-residents, we may, I'm not sure if we have to have an official vote, but I would certainly need the committee to okay that I also make that change under the trapping permit.
Obviously, if I may, Mr. Chair, obviously this is a cleaner sheet here, and I would concur with Rachel's suggestion. And I could go either way with the $10 or $20, whatever the committee decides.
Well, I see in one place it says $10, in other place it says 20. So in 142, I think it says 10, and in 10 it says 20. Also, since section 11 was left out in the original bill, I think we need to reconsider that, because I think that's a substantial change. So I think we should reconsider the vote on that to clarify that, but we'll see what the rest of the questions are and see where we go.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, my motion was $10 at the time. So clearly, if we change the 10 to another number, it would have to, the committee.
Absolutely. Revote. Yep. Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for bearing with me and explaining all of this from last week. Given the conflict in law, couldn't we just put all the stuff that's in LD 10 into LD 142 and skip LD 10?
Well,
I thought about this afterwards.
Yeah, I think originally the reason it was done that way was to try to do away with the physical note anyway, because of the concern around the physical note. So that's why we brought back LD 10. Again, I wasn't here, but I know it was brought back purposely because it had been a not to pass. It was a bear bill. So that's the reason where we are. So I think that does bear further discussion, no pun intended, to go ahead and see what is the best way to handle this. And I'd go back to the commissioner, since I think the department may have been partially involved with the discussion around, or the suggestion around, going to two bills anyway. So Commissioner, your thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Senator Dill, and members of the committee. Again, I'm Judy Camuso, Commissioner. And I think with the recalculation of the fiscal note, you could go back to the original LD 142 as Representative Hepler recommended. And, the department's goals in this bill, as you know, was not to increase revenue rather than to increase people participating in the activity. And the whole purpose was to try and reduce the fees so that we could generate some additional interest. We neglected to consider that the cost for the second permit will likely offset any reduction in fee. So I think Representative Hepler has a good approach.
So is the $20, I mean, that's not reducing it a lot, going from 27 to 20. Do you think that that's going to, go ahead.
No, I think that will generate an additional 68,000 or so. Is that what Rachel said? I think the original reduction to 10, because folks would have to pay for the second permit, does offset the reduction.
All right.
Or brings it to about a $4,000 positive for us based on our estimates.
All right, good. Senator Curry.
It feels like we're in a place that we're ready to reconsider, and
We're gonna have to
142.
we're gonna have to reconsider them both here in a second, but
I think we did all these gymnastics in order to not put a fiscal note in it, and now that we don't need it, I'd like to see us go back to the original.
right. So I think what we would bother to do is first we'd reconsider 142, make sure the amendments there are correct. Then once we vote that in, I assume, then we'll reconsider 10 and vote it out. So it ought not to pass. Would that be what everybody's looking at? I see some thumbs ups. And Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could we not move to reconsider our motion whereby we voted on LD 142 and LD 10?
Do it in one motion?
Sure.
I suppose you can do it in one motion. It's fine, but we'll just make sure when you say your motion to do 142 first, just so there's no confusion.
Whatever works, Mr. Chair.
So you're gonna, your motion is to reconsider LD 142 followed by reconsidering LD 10. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been seconded by Senator Curry. Just show of hands, all in favor? Unanimous. All right, moving back. 142. Reconsideration of this. So could I have a motion on this bill? Because it needs to have a whole different slot, I think, because if I understand it correctly, I wasn't here. But right now it says $10, but it needs to be 20, correct? No, I see some no's and I see some yeses.
If I may.
So, go ahead.
Commissioner Camucho let us know that given the revised fiscal note, their concern that the reduction in fees to $10 would hold up the bill on the appropriations table no longer exists. They believe that taking into account the second permit increased revenue, that they're actually, they may end up seeing an increase of almost $5,000. So they don't have that fiscal note concern. So if the committee wanted to move forward as LD 142 was originally written with a $10 fee, then there are actually no changes to LD 142 that would need to be made. So no amendment would be necessary. If the committee wanted to move forward with the $20 as decided last session, then we would need to move forward with that amendment.
Representative Danny Martin.
Mr. Chair, so what was the recommendation of the Commissioner's Office? Commissioner Judy?
Is it 10 or 20?
Thanks, Representative. Yeah, we would recommend the $10 fee.
Which was the original motion
Correct.
by Representative Martin last time, correct?
Correct, yes.
So we're back to the original bill as amended. Because you must have amended it, Representative Martin, is that correct?
Correct. Just to start a discussion, I'll move ought to pass an LD 142.
As amended. Is it as amended? Because you amended it last time, so, or is it straight?
I don't think we need an amendment if we're going to stick with $10.
Okay, I'm just asking. Since I wasn't here, I don't know what's going on here.
Second.
Okay, Rachel, you want to say something?
No, only that Representative Martin is correct, and I do have the original bill available if anyone wanted to look.
All right, so it's ought to pass on LD 142. And who seconded it? Was that Representative Mason? I didn't hear who seconded it.
I'll second it.
Lester Ordway, Representative Ordway had actually, sorry. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll? Linda?
Yes, starting with Representative Lyford.
I don't see him here.
All right, I'll skip over him for the moment and go to Representative Mason,
Yes.
Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Senator Curry,
Yes.
Senator Black,
Yes.
Senator Dill,
Yes.
Representative Landry,
Yes.
Representative Theriault,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Our clerk has just tried to promote Senator Curry to representative. Yes.
I get on a roll with the representatives. Representative Ordway,
Yes.
Representative Ali,
Yes.
Representative Nadeau,
Yes.
Representative John Martin,
Yes.
and I don't know if Representative Lyford is there or has stepped away.
Representative Lyford, you there? Perhaps he just can't get back in or something, so.
I'm here.
Oh, he's here. Can we see you?
Yes.
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 The vote is
He
yes.
votes yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
That makes it unanimous. 13 ought to pass.
13-0 ought to pass on LD 142, an act to give the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife rulemaking authority to establish a bear season framework and bag limits. Thank you. Representative Martin.
Mr. Chair, do we now have to move ought not to pass in LD 10, or have we done that? So
We have to now because you had passed it last time.
correct. I would move ought not to pass in LD 10.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Tim Theriault, Representative Theriault. Any discussion? Okay. Call the roll, please.
We'll start at the other end with Representative John Martin,
Yes.
Representative Nadeau,
Yes.
Representative Ali,
Yes.
Representative Ordway,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Representative Theriault,
Yes.
Representative Landry,
Yes.
Senator Dill,
Yes.
Senator Black,
Yes.
Senator Curry,
Yes.
Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Representative Mason,
Yes.
Representative Lyford.
Yes.
And that is unanimous. 13 ought not to pass.
Awesome.
Did I miss?
What?
Can't even say, can I miss anything?
No. Yeah, this was the LD 10, which was the second half of the bear bill. It was ought to pass before, and we just rolled it all back into the first one. We didn't have to pull out the fees. But you had passed it last time, so this time we're just doing ought not to pass on it to get rid of it. It was strictly on bear fees, permit fees. So with that, we'll move on to further language review. LD 223, Rachel?
Yes. So LD 223, an act to clarify Maine's fish and wildlife licensing and registration laws. I brought a couple of things up during the bill analysis around some of the language changes. And in addition, the committee voted, or it was, I believe it was tabled, but wanted to include a division of the fees, the increased reinstatement fee, to have some of that portion of the fee for certain violations go to the landowner relations fund. So I have that here. This does do a couple of things, so it might be best to walk through it piece by piece. And I'm going to share the screen to walk.
And before you do, Rachel, just a question for you.
Yes.
Since I think that was one of the bills that I wasn't here for either.
Oh, yes.
So is this tabled? Is this not, what is the position this bill in?
It was tabled, and I was to come back with language fixes and language around how to divide the funding.
Okay, so then can I have a motion to take this off the table so we can discuss it? So moved by Representative Martin, seconded by Representative Landry. All in favor, just show your hands. Thank you. All right, now go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, and I'm sorry, but I am also, for those of you that would like to have this not just shared on the screen, I've just sent you a copy by email. I know sometimes the links don't work in the chat box. And okay, so starting here with section 1 of the bill, failure to pay fine and reinstatement fee. When the bill first came in front of me, there were some questions around the removal of this portion here that related to the courts. This is something I wasn't sure if should be removed, but upon further legal review, my office is satisfied that that is acceptable to be removed. But we did suggest keeping this portion here that defines the word fine, which is referenced above in this section. So we're going to restore that definition of fine from Title 14, Section 3141, subsection 1, back in, just as it's referred to up here. In addition, for consistency across the statutes, this phrase, if a license, permit, or registration is suspended, we wanted to make sure license, permit, and registration was consistent. And so as it was in section 2 under reinstatement fee, license, permit, or registration, we looked at a couple of the other statutes, and it made sense to bring the word permit in into this section here. So we have the same consistency across the statute. Are there any questions? This does deal with a couple of different topics. So I think if, as we're sort of moving forward, if there are questions, kind of take them one at a time. So if there are any questions about this one.
Any questions for Rachel now?
All right. That brings us to section 2 of the bill, which was enacted to read reinstatement fees. So this is being added to the section. You can see it referenced up here. So in looking at this, there are a couple of things going on. First is we wanted to bring in, individuals have to pay a reinstatement fee for having their license, permit, or registration suspended or revoked pursuant to this section or Title 14, Section 3142. And just for reference, that is contempt of court. So failure to pay your court fines is considered a contempt of court. So that's what that is referring to there. And those are currently in statute. That is what's referenced here. So we brought this language down so that reinstatement fees are for both. It makes clear that a reinstatement fee for these suspensions or revocations is about both this section 10902 in Title 12 and also this section in Title 14. And then per the committee's request, the committee wanted to see the increased fee for suspensions or revocations that were already occurring to be divided. So $25, which was in current statute, would continue to go to the general fund, and that increase of $25 would go to the landowner relations fund established here in section 10265. For the new collection of reinstatement fees as a result of suspensions or revocations pursuant to this section in Title 12, which are commissioner suspension or revocations, that all $50 of the reinstatement fee would go to the landowner relations fund. So this was per the committee's request. There was, I think, a question during the work session around what kind of violations currently result in a suspension or revocation, and the dollar amounts or how much is actually currently being paid that goes into the general fund. And I believe the department was pulling some numbers around that if the committee is interested in knowing. I think there was some concern that if all of the reinstatement fee, the $50, went to the landowner relations fund, that this could impact the general fund. And I believe that the department was looking into that, to those numbers, if the committee would like to hear more about that. I don't have that information in front of me at the moment.
I do have a question on that, which
Yes.
is kind of, where does it go now? The reinstatement fee goes now to the general fund? Or is there I see or not? Commissioner, do you know the answers to this?
Yes, right now those reinstatement fees go to the general fund, and our estimate, if all of $50 the reinstatement fee went to the landowner relations program, it would only be about $2,000 annually. So
What was it? How much? I'm sorry, 50,000?
2,000. No, 2,000. Just two. So not a significant concern.
Not a significant amount. Okay.
So as it's currently written, $25 of the reinstatement fee for a license, permit, or registration suspended or revoked pursuant to Title 14, Section 3142, and $50 of the reinstatement fee for a license, permit, or registration suspended or revoked pursuant to this section, which is 10902 and Title 12, must be deposited to the landowner relations fund. So currently, reinstatement fees are collected pursuant to Title 14, Section 3142. And so it's those dollars that the committee was hesitant about impacting by moving away from the general fund and into the landowner relations. So it's drafted now to represent that split, but only for those Title 14 suspensions or revocations. Okay. And that's I'm going to jump down to a lower section of the amendment as we are still talking about reinstatement fees. So in reviewing the current statute, Title 12, Section 10901, subsection 4 also deals with a reinstatement fee that was not in the original bill. And so these are related, these reinstatement fees and suspensions and revocation, or excuse me, suspensions are related to Title 19-A, Section 2201. That's child custody payments, support payments. And so currently the reinstatement fee, it was $25. So the desire was to make it consistent across the board. And this one was missing from the original bill. So to increase it to $50 and to do that same split as with the Title 14, and have $25 of this reinstatement fee go to the landowner relations fund, and the 25 that was already in existence continuing to go to the general fund, and then adding the word permit for consistency. Are there any questions about that?
Don't see any.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to the end of reinstatement fees. And that brings us to Section 3 of the original bill around trapping licenses and the eligibility for trapping licenses. So the original bill was making a change to B and C related to the word, so getting rid of the word resident and instead referring to person. And these are essentially junior trappers or children. So B is a person 10 years of age or older and under 16 years of age being eligible to purchase a junior trapping license. And C is a person under 10 does not need a license. So in changing the word to person rather than resident, a person could mean a resident, a non-resident who is a citizen of the United States, and a non-resident who is not a citizen of the United States. And there is a prohibition on trapping for non-residents who are not citizens of the United States. And in changing the word resident to person, it was inadvertently changing the rules for non-resident non-citizens. It was opening up the trapping universe for those individuals under 16 to trap anything. But in current statute, and as the prohibition, if you are a non-resident non-citizen, you may only trap beaver, and you may only trap it pursuant to Section 12259, subsection 3. And that is if Mainers can trap beaver in your home province or country, then you can do so here. So we wanted to make sure that the universe wasn't opening up. That was an error in how it was put forward. So the answer to that was to add, as you can see here in yellow, the prohibition to the sections B and C. So if a person is a non-resident and not a citizen of the United States, the license issued under this paragraph authorizes the person only to trap beaver pursuant to section 12259 subsection 3. So a person under 10, or excuse me, a person 10 years of age and older and under 16 can still purchase the license, but they can only trap according to those rules. And the same is true for a person under 10 doesn't need a license, but they can still only trap if they, according to those rules, if they are a non-resident and not a citizen. And that change meant that we could essentially consolidate D and E. So a non-resident 16 years of age or older is eligible to purchase a non-resident adult trapping license, and then provided that if the person is not a citizen of the United States, the license authorizes the person only to trap beaver pursuant to section 12259 subsection 3, and we can get rid of E. Okay, I don't see any questions either.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So that's eligibility, and that's really just to make sure everything kind of conforms and we're not accidentally opening up the sphere for youth and creating a legal conflict. And then, as I pointed out in section 6, related to snowmobile registrations, it used the word annual in a place where they were actually referring to all types of registrations, both annual as well as 3, 10, and seasonal. So we struck the word annual and from those portions, and then added the word annual below where we're actually talking about the annual registrations that are valid for 1 year. And then in that conversation, the change here is actually made to be consistent with the language in the ATV registration section. So I went to review the ATV registration section, and that also has the error with the use of the word annual. So in order to clean up and have conformity, we addressed the word annual here in the ATV section as well. So deleting the word annual where ATVs have, they also have, I think it's a 10-day registration, as well as an annual one. So removing the word annual and adding it here where it is actually referring to the year-long registration. And those, so those are the changes that I brought back, both based on my notes from the bill analysis and the addition of the split of fees between the Landowner Relations Fund and the General Fund for the reinstatements. Happy to answer other questions or discuss the process at this time.
Are there any other questions? Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion on LD 223 was ought to pass as amended. Since we're now doing a language review, question to Rachel, is there anything here that you've shown us that's inconsistent with the motion of ought to pass as amended?
I don't believe so. I'll have to apologize. My note was the that it was tabled to bring this back with the amended language as suggested. It's I'm not sure if I am in error there, but no. My direction, my understanding was to both come back with language fixes, which these are all things I mentioned, and to have the amended language around the division of the funding. You wanted some draft language on what that would look like. So that's what I've provided.
I stand corrected, Rachel. You're absolutely correct. We've now removed it off the table. So do we need a motion to move this forward, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, but before we do, can we go back to that last section?
Yes, the registrations.
Yes.
Yes.
If I'm looking for, yeah, right here. Yeah. Under number 3,
yes.
Your last sentence in yellow.
Yeah, the last sentence. Yes.
There's something wrong with that sentence.
And annual
issuance until June 31st.
I didn't retype this, so let me go see where I copy and pasted it from, and let's see if that's I'm gonna stop sharing to do that so you guys don't have to watch me navigate.
Just thought I'd point that out.
I feel like that, yeah, let me go check to see if that's just a copy and error or if
Well, I'm
that's
just
actually
wondering
how
if
it's written.
already in statute someplace that we can go until June 31st.
We can always blame it on the typist.
Just give me a moment.
Either way, we have to change it for our bill, but
Senator Dill, I believe that is in statute. I believe it's part of one of our amendment bills that's still coming up. That was a longstanding typo. And
so that is a longstanding typo, June 31st. Okay.
You caught that like an English teacher.
Yeah, that was done after I left.
All your excuses here, folks. So.
Yep, Colonel Scott's is correct. It's in current statute is June 31st. And I have to admit, I never mastered the song about the days of the month and the month. So I didn't catch it. And I was not an English teacher.
So we need to change that.
We certainly can address that here. Yes, it would make sense.
What
Yes,
we're doing here, so
absolutely.
someone else has to address the rest of it at some point, which must be us also as a committee. But I'll leave that to Rachel and John to figure out how we address that at some other point. All right, so back to you. Is that the end of your, Commissioner?
Thank you, Senator. I think Deputy Commissioner Tim Peabody would just like to talk about the some of the language around where the fees are going, if possible. We can simplify that a little bit.
Sure, Deputy Commissioner Peabody, you're on.
Thank you, Senator Dill. When I read the amended language, I appreciated what the committee was trying to negate a fiscal note and to put money into the landowner relations fund. The way that it's currently written up in the amendment presented by Rachel under section 2, that's subsection 11, that's actually a zero fiscal note when it refers back to the Title 14, 3142. That's court ordered revocation of a license for failure to pay fine, and that's we have not got any court orders for suspension, so it's essentially zero. And then under section 7 of the amendment, suspension of license for the DHHS, that's only about $2,000 a year, which is a negligible. And I just think the complexity in the language here, I just would like the committee's thoughts on that. Whether you could just put all the money into the landowner relations fund, it'd only be a $2,000 impact on the general fund, just to make it simpler.
Representative John Martin, I have a question for you. When we always say these little negligible things on the general fund, it's 2,000 here, 2,000 there. What does that really mean when we get to the end of a bill like this?
Still goes on the appropriations table, but it won't be a problem getting off the table.
Okay, that was my question. I figured it went there, and my concern is I didn't want it to die there for a couple $1,000. So, all right, thank you. So, Deputy Commissioner Peabody, is there a language change there that needs to be done? Is that what I heard you say, or is it just okay as it is?
I think you could put the entire amount as a landowner relations fund and avoid that split language. I think it would just make it a lot cleaner going down the road for people to understand the reasoning behind it.
All right. Rachel, did you catch that? Get that change?
I can certainly make that change if the committee would like.
Committee, I see nodding yes. Yep, you want that change. Okay, was it Representative Danny Martin that were you making an motion there, Representative Martin?
Yes, that was in the form of a motion, yes.
Okay. So that move that ought to pass as amended, was there a second? I don't know if it was a second. Representative Kepler has seconded it. So it's moved in second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Linda, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, again, I'll start with Representative John Martin,
Yes.
Representative Naidu,
Yes.
Representative Ali,
Yes.
Representative Ordway,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes.
Representative Terrio,
Yes.
Representative Landry.
Jesus Christmas, this friggin' thing.
Senator Dill,
Yes.
Senator Black,
Yes.
Senator Curry. Has he left us?
Senator Curry, I don't see him.
No, he may have left us. Okay. Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Representative Mason,
Yes.
Representative Lyford. Oh goodness,
I think he's enjoying Christmas at the moment. So.
he's there but frozen. Oh goodness, the issues today. And now I don't see him any longer. Well, we have 11 in favor of ought to pass as amended. 1, we're not sure where he is. He's back.
Yes.
Representative Lyford votes yes, so that makes it unanimous. 13 ought to pass as amended.
Okay, so on LD 223, an act to clarify Maine's fish and wildlife licensing and registration laws ought to pass as amended. 13-0, it passes. Okay.
I would say that was 12-01 absent.
I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I apologize. So that, yes, Senator Curry is absent, so it is 12.
With one absence, so it's 12-01, it passes. Anything else to come before us, Rachel or John?
I do not have anything else to bring forward to the committee today.
Okay. If there's nothing else, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So
That's
moved.
Robert Alley, Representative Alley, seconded by Representative Terrio. All in favor, just wave at me. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you Wednesday. Bye all.
Well, I'm on the committee. Linda,
Yes.
did I miss any vote?
No, you came back in just in time. Let me just go back through and double check to be certain, but I think you're all set. No, we got you for 10. 142 is all set. 309 is all set. 356 is all set, and 361. And then 223 is, yeah, we caught you right at the end. So no, it looks like you are all set, despite all the issues. Looks like you're frozen again.